This is Doug DeMuro, and it's the most important video of the year, the Doug Awards. Every year I look back at all the cars I've reviewed throughout the year, and I give my big awards, the best, the worst, the quirkiest, all the awards. The end of the year is here, and so it's time for the Dougies. Before we get started, are you ready for your next cool car? Sell your enthusiast car on Cars and Bids. Trading in your car to dealers means you aren't getting market value for your car, leaving you with less cash for your next fun car. Just look at our recent sales of these cool cars compared to current trade-in value. This is a trade-in offer, and this was the Cars and Bids result. This is a trade-in offer, and this was the Cars and Bids result. This is the trade-in offer, and this is the Cars and Bids result. Get started now on carsandbids.com. Sell on Cars and Bids and join the best community to sell your enthusiast car. All right, time for the Doug Awards. We've done this now going back to 2017. So this is our 9th Doug Awards. Our 9th Doug Awards. Next year will be 10 years of the Doug Awards. And I do this every year. It used to be 2 videos. I would kind of go through the awards, make a second video about the top quirks, but now I combined them into one rather long, fun-filled video where we really get into all of the best, the worst, everything from 25. And since the year is over, I've reviewed all the cars. Let's look back. I'm going to go through all the categories first, and then I'll give you my car of the year, and then we'll move on to the top quirks of the year, which I do every year, and it's all ranked. We make some real choices here in the Doug Awards. Now, for each category, I'm going to give you the runner-up, the second place, and then the winner, and we will also post on the screen the previous year's winners, so you can see all the cars that in the past have won this particular Doug Award as we go through each category. So, we begin with the Doug is the Type of Guy Award. I used to get all these comments, Doug is the type of guy, and they would kind of laugh at me. And so I created this category, the Doug is the Type of Guy Award, which is basically the most Dougish car that I reviewed this year. The car that clearly wasn't going to be getting a lot of views, but I chose to review it because Doug is the type of guy. Runner-up, second place for the Doug is the Type of Guy Award, the Chevy Monte Carlo SS Dale Earnhardt Edition. This car was not going to be getting a lot of views, and I reviewed it anyway because Doug is the type of guy. I actually loved that last generation Monte Carlo. And the Dale edition had so many ridiculous sort of cosmetic flourishes that I simply had to review the car. I could not. It was for sale on Cars and Bids. I saw it come up. I couldn't not review. I didn't want to review it. I had to in my soul. That was second place. First place in the Doug is the Type of Guy Award. You can see all the previous winners here. There have been a lot of Doug is the Type of Guy Award cars over the years. The Pontiac Mira, which was basically a Pontiac Fiero that was transformed into a Ferrari 308, but not as a kit car done by some guy in rural Missouri in his backyard. It was done at the time by dealerships. They would sell these as new cars. There was a company that would convert them and sell them at Pontiac dealerships new as a fake Ferrari that you could buy instead of your Pontiac Fiero. Absolutely an absurd car. We had one come up on Cars and Bids. I've always known about the existence of the Mira. I've always wanted to check one out. Had one come up on Cars and Bids. It was pretty local. We had it sent to our office and I reviewed it, and I was so excited to review the Pontiac Mira. It actually did get quite a bit of views. It's funny to have this like fake Ferrari out there, and that is a thing that people are interested in. But it's especially a thing that I am interested in. It's such an obscure car. Nobody in our office had ever heard of it before. But I'm a big Pontiac Mira guy, and so I was really pumped about it. And thrilled that we had this video come in, thrilled that we did it. Absolutely amazed to do this video, and very much a Doug is the Type of Guy car, just a ridiculous thing. Okay, next up, most expensive car that I reviewed in 25. This is our only objective category in the Doug Awards, the only category that can be measured by number. Most expensive car that I reviewed. Second place runner-up car I just reviewed last week, the Zinger 21C VMAX, which Starting price on that car is about $2.5 million. With options, you get up around $3 million. That was the second most expensive car I reviewed this year, because the most expensive car I reviewed this year is also the most expensive car I have ever reviewed, and that would be the Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR Roadster, which is probably a $10 million car. Huge props to Faster LLC for allowing me to come up and shoot the video, letting me drive this car around in Irvine, Costa Mesa. It was an incredible experience, and really, really a special thing driving the CLK GTR. With that said, I'm on the record many times in podcasts and various videos of saying that, you know, some of the hardest stuff I do is driving these really expensive cars, and that was certainly true of that video. That car is so valuable that it is hard not to constantly be thinking of the potential risks of driving that car, of crashing that car, of damaging it in any way, mechanically even, you know, stepping on something and it's a part that can never be fixed. And so, you know, I always say, and I always have said, and I will say, and it's true here, that the best part for me about reviewing a car like that is giving the keys back at the end of the day and not being responsible for it anymore. And I definitely feel that way about that CLK GTR. Amazing experience. The video did incredibly well. I'm still getting a lot of messages from people who are so excited that I reviewed that car. You'll never get as in-depth of a look at the CLK GTR as that video provides. Nonetheless, obviously a huge risk to me, to our business, with this value of this car. And so thrilled that I did the video, thrilled that it's over. Okay, next up, bargain of the year. So this is the car that I reviewed this year that is the best value, the best bargain. And I gotta say, I actually had quite a few bargains this year. This was one of the very hardest categories that I had to pick of all the Doug Awards for all the cars. But I did narrow it down to two. And the runner-up for bargain of the year is the Lamborghini Murcielago Roadster. I reviewed my friend Nick's Murcielago Roadster a few months ago when he sold it on Cars and Bids. It is almost ridiculous, and I understand it, to say that a Lamborghini Murcielago, which sells in the $200,000 to $250,000 price point, is a bargain. No car at that price point is really a bargain, if we're being totally honest. Nonetheless, that car is. When you look at what Countach's and Mura's cost, you can see where Murcielago values will inevitably eventually go. And it blows me away driving that car around that you can still buy something that is that exotic and that head-turning and that raw and visceral and full of performance for that much money. It really is an unbelievable experience for a $200,000 price point. And I really think that that car is a bargain at the $200,000 level. I know it's a big price point. I know it's very expensive, but I just think about what it offers, and even what is starting to happen to Diablo values. And what that car offers is almost the same level of insanity and craziness as a Countach or a Diablo, but an actually reliable experience, unlike those cars, and at a far more affordable price point. If I didn't love my Countach so much, I would probably go out and get a Murcielago. I don't want to say a Murci is a budget Countach, but it really does provide a lot of the benefits for an unbelievably less amount of money, and I think it really is a bargain. However, undoubtedly the number one bargain of the year, without even the slightest question in my mind, I reviewed a 2005 Dodge Viper SRT10 convertible, and those cars, the third-gen Vipers, are absolute steals. Third gen Viper is a 500 horsepower, 8.3 liter V10, a bona fide rare exotic car that is wide and crazy and raw and insane to drive, and they pretty consistently sell for $35,000 to $50,000, which is like what you'd spend for a used Mustang. It is unbelievable to me that these cars, given the level of performance they deliver, do not cost more money. Now, from a market perspective, it's not that surprising. I look at the earlier Vipers, which I think are even cooler, and they don't sell for that much more money. So I'm not surprised to see that this car is depreciated and stayed here. But when you think about what it offers, and when I drove the car and was reminded of the feeling and the driving experience of this car, I can't believe these things can be had pretty regularly for $35,000. Just an unbelievable car, an unbelievable bargain given the performance level. I don't think the appearance is quite as striking as it should be for a Viper, and I think that's a big reason why these particular cars have not shot up in value. But nonetheless, It is a crazy fun car to drive. Really thrilling, really exciting, and I totally think that these things are deals. Okay, next up, biggest surprise of the year. The car that has surprised me the most. You know, every video I film, I try to go in with an open mind. I try to go in like, oh, this is going to be whatever, you know, it might be bad, might be good. I don't like to read a lot of car reviews before I review a car. I like to go in with an open mind. But nonetheless, sometimes you have certain preconceptions. So sometimes I show up and I'm not expecting a car to be great, and it's great. Or it's terrible. Biggest surprise of the year, I guess, could be much worse than I thought. But most of the time, it's much better than I thought, and that is the case here. The car that surprised me the most, I was thinking it wouldn't be great, and it was. Runner-up number 2, actually, is the Porsche Macan EV Turbo. The Macan EV has gotten a lot of crap recently. It sort of debuted right at the time when people were not really into electric vehicles anymore, and people were kind of laughing at Porsche for taking the Macan in this direction. The gas-powered Macan has become very old in design, and instead of redesigning it, Porsche's committed all these resources to the electric car. And there's been a lot of criticism of that. Nonetheless, I drove the Macan EV Turbo. It drives great. The tech is awesome. The steering and handling is awesome. The performance level is awesome. I think it looks great. I get that there's a lot of reasons out there you might not want to buy one because EVs are not hot right now and they're too expensive and the range and all this and that. If you can fit it into your lifestyle, it's great. And I'll tell you something, for a runabout town, around town vehicle, I would buy it over a gas Macan in a heartbeat. It looks better, the tech's better, it's more fun, it drives better. I would buy it in a heartbeat over a gas-powered Macan. And I wasn't expecting that. I really wasn't. I think EVs in general have gotten a bad rap to the point where I think people forget that there are actually some good EVs out there. And the Macan is definitely one of them. Pretty good car, and it gives me a lot of hope for what's coming with the electric Cayenne, which should go on sale sometime next year. But the number one biggest surprise of the year was actually the Ferrari SF90XX. Totally blew me away. Now, you wouldn't expect that because it's a $1 million Ferrari with a zillion horsepower. Of course, it's going to be good. However, I wasn't that impressed by the non-XX SF90. The regular SF90 did not deliver me the most impressive experience that I've had. I don't love the hybrid. I don't think it looks that special considering the 296, which I think is a better car in every way, is cheaper, looks better, is just as fast. The depreciation hit on the SF90 has been insane. I think the market agrees with me. The car has not been particularly well received. So I show up to the SF90XX and I'm like, I'm going to do this because I know the audience wants it, but I'm not really looking forward to it. Then I did it. It was amazing. Absolutely fantastic car. And I got the sense driving it that that's what the regular SF90 should have been from the get-go. It is just really a thrilling car. Just so much fun and raw and visceral and in your face in a way that the regular SF90 just isn't. And that's Ferrari with their XX, their special models, the Pistas, the Speciales, and the 360 Challenge Stradales. They're always that much more raw. And in this case, I think it really delivered the experience that I was hoping for from the SF90 into this SF90XX. And so I show up there thinking it's just going to be kind of a slightly upgraded SF90, a big yawn. I'm going to have to ham it up like Chris Harris, always loving every car he drives. This particular one, though, I didn't have to do any of that. It was just damn good. Okay, we're now on to our four biggest categories, starting with worst car of the year. This is the worst car that I have driven this year, and there have been some whoppers in the past. If you're on this worst car of the year list, you have made a really bad car. I mean, the Meter Maid car won it one year, I think. I think that the Meter Maid car, yeah, was the worst car of the year in 22. Like that was a three-wheeled car intended to write parking enforcement ticket. Like if you're on this list with that, you're in a tough spot. In this year, believe it or not, the worst cars were all the contenders were new cars. Typically, I review some older cars in every year that are really bad, like the Soviet car I reviewed. That was the 21 worst car of the year. The i-MiEV, you'll see the list. But this year, it was all new cars that were the worst cars that I reviewed. The second worst car I reviewed this year was the Maserati Gran Cabrio, which is the convertible version of the Maserati Gran Turismo and is also the most overpriced car on the market today. And I say that very very confidently. The Maserati Grand Cabrio, it is a disaster of a car. It is a brand new redesigned car that looks just like the outgoing car that came out in 2008 and which you can buy for $15,000 used. For some reason, they put no effort into the redesign, and yet they are still asking people to spend something like $250,000 to buy them. I've seen them discounted already, advertised discounts of $50,000 or more just to try to move these cars off the lots. They are undesirable cars. They're actually pretty good to drive. At $120,000, I think they're very desirable new cars. Maserati charges double that. It is a horrible value. Really a terrible, terrible car at that price point. And given the tech and the redesign and how it looks similar to everything else, it's just a real disappointment. But nothing could be more disappointing than our actual winner for worst car of the year, which was going through the videos, and I'm like, oh, yep, no question, Dodge Charger EV. And I'm so sad for the Dodge Charger because I actually love the way it looks and it drives okay. But replacing two beloved gas-powered cars, the Charger and the Challenger, with one mediocre electric car was just never going to go well. And thankfully, they're walking it back. They're going to come out with a four-door. They're going to come out with gas-powered versions. They're going to bring back what we loved about the previous cars. But right now, the Dodge Charger EV is a really, really big disappointment, and certainly the worst car on sale this year, proven by the fact that, like, it's at its worst, they were advertising lease deals that were basically the same as cell phone bills. Like, it was starting to become almost appealing. It's just a shame. Again, not that terrible of a car if it had been executed completely differently. I love the styling. I like how it drives. It is way too expensive. The EV situation is not what people wanted. It was the wrong car at the wrong time. There was nothing really right about it, except for some minor stuff that does not make it compelling. Definitely the worst car of the year. And honestly, I'm not even entirely sure that the Stellantis group would argue with my characterization. Okay, down to my three most important categories. We're going in order here. The next most important is the video of the year. And what video of the year means is the most meaningful video to me. And videos of the years in the past have been some really special stuff, like the video when I bought my Carrera GT, the video when I shot a McLaren F1 with Jay Leno. There have been some really, really special videos that I've done in past years. The Bugatti Chiron, which kind of helped put me on the map as a car reviewer. The new Ford GT, same deal. Like, there have been some really, really, really big, meaningful, personally meaningful videos to me on the channel. And this year, two really stood out as the most meaningful videos to me. Number two was the Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR for a lot of reasons. On my channel for many years, from like 2017 to 2023, I got insane views because I was reviewing the most insane cars, and every week you could tune in and get a full tour of something that you could never imagine even touching in real life. And we did that every week for like 7 years. And obviously over time, it's become less easy like, I've done all those cars. Like, you can only review some of these cars so many times. And so obviously views have declined for all of us with the advent of short form and with more creator competition, all that. But like my absolute heyday of views really capitalized on those cars. And the Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR kind of brought me back to that time when it was like, everyone was talking about it. Like, I did that video. You would go to Cars and Coffee on Saturday, and everybody was, not just to me, but like, hey, did you see that? You hear people, hey, did you see that video on the CLK GTR this week? Everybody that I know watched that. Everybody wanted to see what that car was like. And that was a very special video. Not only to get back into, a car, there are still cars out there that are absolutely crazy that I haven't reviewed. And when I get my hands on them, I am still able to hit the view numbers that put me to the very top. It is still totally possible with the right vehicles, and that car proved that was special to me. But also just being trusted, with a car at that level, again, thanks to Faster LLC, like, that was a really big deal for me. To be doing this for so long and to have done so many special cars and to have people coming to me now and saying, hey, we'll give you special access to this press car. We'll give you special access to this CLK GTR. That has become very, very meaningful to me as a content creator, just kind of reaching this level, especially because for the first 10 years of me starting out doing this, I had to convince automakers to let me borrow a press car for 12 hours. And now it's really shifted, and they've started to really realize that. And no matter what my legacy is in the car space, I do think that long term, someday, when people look back at car reviewing as a form, they're gonna say, hey, Doug DeMuro was really instrumental in helping the automakers and people in general understand the benefit of YouTube for car reviews. And I think that opened the door for a lot of other people to be able to get access to cars, and I think that car is a good example. However, the number one most meaningful video of the year, which I think illustrates this point even better, was reviewing the Cadillac Voyage concept car. Almost every time I talk to automaker PR people, I mention offhandedly, not related to what we're shooting then and there, but offhandedly, that I would like to review one of their previous old concept cars. And generally speaking, the PR people either kind of chuckle, like, oh, okay, yeah, or they say, oh, yeah, I'll check into it, and I never hear back. And I don't blame them. Concept cars are a bear to review. They often do not run and require people pushing them or some special circumstances to get them going. They always are no longer relevant. Concept cars are typically cool because they promoted the brand in 1997 for some special auto show, but me reviewing a concept car today doesn't benefit the brand, right? Like, it doesn't help. Like, showing off a 2000 Toyota concept car, Toyota gets no benefit from that. There was benefit at the time, but now they're on to modern new cars and concept cars. It's not important to them. And so automakers have never actually said yes. General Motors and I got to talking in October about the Celestiq. And I said, I really want to review the Celestiq. And they said, yeah, we maybe bring it down to Southern California at some point. And I said, well, I also want to review the ZR1. And they said, hey, well, if you come to Michigan, we got these cars here, and you could knock them off in a day, And that's appealing to me. I'm like, okay, I can fly from San Diego to Detroit and back, and fly up the night, review the cars, fly back the same night. I mean, the next day. It can do it quick. And I said, but I don't generally. I've made a point on this channel. I don't generally love to travel for my videos, and I've made a big point of that because I like to be at home. I like to be at home with my family. I have little kids. I don't usually like to do it. But I said to him, what about? I did that, but we add a concept car, an old concept car. And they were receptive from day one and supportive. And after a couple of weeks of, we'll see what we can do, they sent me a list of all of their previous heritage concept cars that were in a drivable state that I could review. And true to their word, I show up in Detroit on a nice day in October, and they give me a ZR1 to drive around for the day, film the ZR1 in a church parking lot at 6 a.m., from 6 to 9. It was a crazy day. From 9 to 1, or from 10 to 1, film the Celestiq at their tech center in Warren, Michigan. And then 2 o'clock, go to the Voyage and film the Voyage. And I love concept cars. It's a weird thing about me. This view is not shared by people on the internet, by the way. You put concept car in a title and your video is going to tank. But because people don't think it's real, it's not coming, it's usually so impossible to get working that you're not going to actually see anything. It's all conjecture. But I love them. And so being able to drive the car, they had set it up at the top of a parking garage. And I will probably never forget. I was going up there with a guy from Cadillac in my ZR1, and we pull up to the top of the parking garage, and there it is. And I'm like, damn, they're really doing this. This is really going to happen. And I also had the chance to not only spend those next few hours reviewing the Voyage, but I spent them with a guy at GM who was wonderful and whose only job is to maintain their heritage cars. He said he and like 1 or 2 other guys just work on getting the heritage cars, keeping them going, keeping them in good shape, and that's kind of all of their collection of old concept cars. And that was obviously really cool to talk to him, to spend the afternoon with him, and sort of to get some insights into what that looks like. And so that was a really special video, driving that car around GM's campus there, their tech center campus. It was just really, really, really cool. And as a guy who's always loved concept cars, who's always wanted to do a video like this, who doesn't love to travel for videos, it was amazing to be able to actually have that experience. And huge kudos to GM. That video is not going to get them anything. This is a concept car from 1988. If anything, it makes people laugh at what they thought thought was going to be futuristic then. But GM was willing to do this for me and really came in with that. And after all the stuff I've said about the Chevy Blazer, huge props to GM. And that video really was special to me. Okay, last two categories before we move on to the top quirks. Quirkiest Car of the Year. Runner-up for Quirkiest Car of the Year is the Cadillac Voyage Concept, which was this video went up 2 weeks ago, last week, whatever. Absolutely ridiculous, crazy concept car with absurd details of what we thought the future would look like in 1988. Go watch the video. It's really good. It's really funny. The number one Quirkiest Car of the Year, though, I have to give this award, begrudgingly came to really like the Citroen DS. The Citroen DS, it's almost cliche to give the quirky award to the Citroen DS. Because it is filled with so many quirks, but it just is. And I was not gonna give the award to this car. I was compiling this list before I actually drove the DS, and then I drove the DS, and I said, that's it. It has to be it. The DS just has so many weird quirks and innovations, some of which are silly and never should have happened, and some of which are totally ahead of their time and absolutely brilliant. But either way, they packed so many bizarre inventions and attempts and quirks and weirdnesses into that one car that even though it is 50 plus years old, you cannot help yourself but sit back and say the Citroen DS absolutely deserves the title of Quirkiest Car of the Year. It was so innovative and so bizarre and so insane. And it deserves it. It is the quirkiest car of the year. It is the quirkiest car of most years. And of course, in a channel devoted to quirks and features, the Quirkiest Car Award is a really important one, and this car absolutely deserves it. I really came to like the DS, even though I'm not a big fan of older cars, and I think some of the French cars are just plain weird and whatever. By the end of the video, I had real respect for it and its innovations and how cool and special it is. And it is definitely the Quirkiest Car of the Year. And finally, our final award before we move into the top quirks of the year, our final award is the Car of the Year. Now, this is the only award that is only offered to new cars. It is my award for the very best new car that I have driven in the year. And past winners have always been very competent, very good new cars, typically really deserving, like the Tesla Model 3 won in the year that it came out, the C8 Corvette, Rivian. I mean, the cars that really have been the best cars of their years have won this award. And so I'm going to go through quickly the top 5 best cars of the year like I always do, and I'll tell you at the end what the number 1 car was. So number 5 best car of the year, the new Lexus LX 700h Overtrail. I personally want this car so deeply and badly, and I think it really is the very best large luxury SUV if you're a person who wants to keep something forever. It is over-engineered like the old Land Cruisers are. It's the only way we still get the 300 series Land Cruiser in the US, and yes, I know it is not a V8 anymore, but trust me, it's better. It's more efficient, more power, it tows more, it is a fantastic powertrain, and it is deployed beautifully in the Overtrail, which combines that great Toyota truck powertrain with a surprisingly competent, plush ride and a very good overall vehicle. Very niche car, but I really liked it. Number 4 best car of the year, the new Porsche 992 Carrera T. I drove the 992 Carrera T and some various other top spec GT3s and STs not that far apart from each other. And I gotta say, the Carrera T is all the 911 that I would want. It is a wonderful car. It is not the most powerful. It is not the one that will get you the most respect on Ren list. It is not the most special. It is, however, a great driving experience. And if what you want is to drive a 911, and it's becoming increasingly clear to me that that is not what most people want. They want to brag about their 911. But if you actually want to be a driver, the Carrera T is a damn good car, and it is one of the few 911s that has not gone totally insane in terms of pricing. And I really loved that car. And as a old school sports car guy with my 4 manual sports cars that are all 20 to 40 years old, that car fit in with my ethos, and I was really impressed with it. Number 4 best car I drove this year. Number 3 best car I drove this year, the Ferrari Dougies Cilindri, or as I call it, the 12 Cilindri. I didn't know what to make of this car. I had actually been kind of critical of it on our podcast. It's gotten very expensive. It doesn't
At first blush, I thought it didn't look that great. Took it out and drove it, and it absolutely changed my life. It is an unbelievably great performance car. Certainly the best front-engine V12 Ferrari road car of all time. And that's saying a lot, because that is a very special lineage of cars that has produced some very special cars. The 550 Maranello, the Daytona, the 275 GTB. Nonetheless, the Dougies Cylindri is incredible. If Ferrari's goal is to be at the forefront of performance and technology and style, I think that car does it. I love how it looks as I see it in person. The performance is unbelievable. And not just straight line performance, which is incredible and still using an old school V12, but the way that it steers and handles. I'm blown away that they're able to make a car that has gotten this high tech and this modern drive this well. It is a magnificent masterpiece of a car, and it is the third best new car that I drove this year, and really near the top. Number two, second best new car I drove this year is the new Hyundai Palisade. Hyundai Palisade beats out the Dougies Cylindri, which is crazy to say, but actually in its world, I think the Palisade is an unbelievably impressive car. Hyundai showed up 5 years ago. The Telluride and the Palisade showed up 5 years ago without really a lot of history in the three-row SUV segment, and that is a very competitive segment. The Highlander, the Pilot, the Explorer, the Pathfinder, all those cars. Palisade shows up, and damn, does it not just turn that segment on its head. It is a tremendously good car. And the new one, which I think is a little weird looking, the new one just takes things to a level that is even more impressive. It built on all the successes of the old one, but made it even more of a premium car with even more impressive features, even better powertrains. And it's very difficult now to buy a three-row SUV and not have on your list the Palisade and the Telluride in at least third place or second place. Like there is, you could, no matter how you structure the list, even if you're a Ford employee, get an Explorer at 50% off, it's hard to say that the Palisade doesn't deserve to be bought anyway. It is just so competent and so capable, and the new one is even more so. However, the number one best car of the year, the best new car I drove this year, the winner on this list is the new Toyota 4Runner, which I think is an absolutely masterful redesign of a car that has a beloved, loyal following and that is very difficult to redesign. That car has always been this body-on-frame, truckish thing with a V6 and sometimes a V8. For years, that's been the case. The market is obsessed with this car. You have these loyal buyers who they've made their entire life their 4Runner. And to redesign it, especially after a decade with the old beloved 5th gen model, is an incredibly difficult thing to do, and Toyota pulled it off perfectly. The new 4Runner looks great. It's incredibly capable. The powertrains are fantastic. The price point works. It is a wonderfully delivered car. And a really, really, really excellent redesign of an iconic, at this point it's become an iconic nameplate. And it's hard to pull off. It is so much easier to screw up an iconic car redesign than to do it well. And Toyota really managed to do it well. And there's grumbling about the going to a 4-cylinder and a hybrid and all that stuff, but each generation of 4Runner there has been grumbling. You know, when the 4th gen came out, people thought it was ugly. When the 5th gen came out, people thought it was horribly ugly. Even as the 5th gen aged, it's outdated. You know, there's always criticism in one way or another. But I think that Toyota managed to really deflect a lot of the criticism by just building a damn good product. And so my car of the year, the best new car that I drove in 25, is the brand new Toyota 4Runner. And with that, we must now move on to our top 10 quirks of the year. This is my favorite thing every year to go through. Every year I spend an hour and a half kind of going through old videos, scrolling through, kind of jogging my memory. What are my favorite quirks? And it ends up, we usually have about 30 of them, and then I have to pare it down to 10 and then rank them. It's hard to do, but this year, as always, some great ones. Starting with number 10, that would be the DJ mode in the Hyundai Crater. Hyundai Crater is a concept car. If this was real, this would be the number one quirk of the year, but it's a concept car. The Hyundai Crater has a mode where you can play music and it's projected onto the windshield, sort of like the sound of the music, and then you can add in, using buttons in the car, you can add in like a drum beat or a cymbal or whatever, kind of being a DJ in your Big crater. It's ridiculous. Again, it's a concept car, so this quirk needed to be mentioned on the list because it's so quirky, but since it's not in production, it's not the number one quirk. Still, it is crazy. Number 9, top quirk of the year, the Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR transmission. There's a lot of quirky things about the CLK GTR, and I really was thinking, okay, distill it down to the quirkiest thing. Is it that the rear clamshell that comes off, or the windows that are fixed in place, or there's a lot of stuff, but the transmission is the quirkiest because it is a manual transmission with a clutch pedal, but no shift lever. You have a lot of manual transmissions with a paddles, but no clutch pedal. This is, you have to use a clutch, but you don't shift gears here, you shift with paddles. And I gotta say, for those of you who think that what I do is easy, you go drive a $10 million car that is this high off the ground, where you are also, while driving it, learning how to drive a new transmission. I'm sitting there driving this car, as if the liability risk of a $10 million car isn't enough. I'm driving it and I'm trying to simultaneously figure out how to use this transmission. It's actually unbelievable that I got any words out in that video at all while I was driving the car. But I did, and I was able to provide a decent driving review despite being scared out of my mind, and that is the number 9 top quirk of the year. Number 8 quirkiest quirk of the year, the Cadillac Voyage. We got to return to that car. And its rotating center console. The Cadillac Voyage had quite a few interesting quirks. I almost gave it to the wheel arch things that turn with the wheel. But unfortunately, no. The rotating center console got the nod, and honestly, I wish that was a feature in modern cars. I've been thinking about it pretty nonstop since I reviewed the Voyage. The center console in the Cadillac Voyage has buttons in it, like any other car, radio and climate controls, but it swivels, so the passenger can have access to it, or the driver. So many cars, they make the center console like driver focused, so that the driver has access to the center controls. You don't have to do that. You can make it driver focused by swiveling it in the brilliant idea of the Cadillac Voyage. No idea how hard this is to implement, no idea if this passes safety regulations, but I think it is a wonderful feature and really, really an impressive thing, and it is my number 8 quirk of the year. Next up, number 7 top quirk of the year. That honor goes to the Ford Mustang GTD and its suspension window. There are quite a few interesting quirks of the Mustang GTD, like the trunk lid that doesn't hinge. You physically take it off the car. But the number 1 quirk is undoubtedly the suspension window. You've seen cars that have glass in the engine compartment, so you can look in and see the engine. This is a car that has glass where the rear seats should be, so that you can look in and watch the suspension bouncing as you're driving along. It is inboard suspension, and it allows you to look at it because you are so proud of your suspension that you want to see it as you drive down the road. It is a ridiculous quirk and easily worthy of number 7. Number 6 on our list, speaking of suspension, is the Mercedes-Maybach GLS 600 bouncing feature. For those of you who don't know, the Maybach 600 has a recovery mode where if you get stuck in sand, you can turn it on and it will bounce itself to try to get free so that it isn't stuck anymore. Ostensibly, that's what it's for. What people actually use it for is to drive around bouncing in their Mercedes Maybach and sort of flexing the ridiculousness of that car. It is absolutely absurd that the vehicle can do this at all. The reason this isn't my number 1 quirk, I've actually reviewed this car before. I just reviewed it again this year because there were some updates to it, and so I was able to bounce around again this year, as in the past. I still think this is one of the stupidest, craziest, most bizarre quirks I have ever seen in my entire life, that this car can just bounce, and you can drive down the street bouncing, and when you do, people go crazy watching you. Next up, number 5, top quirk of the year. That goes to the Porsche Cayenne Electric and its inductive charger. So Cayenne Electric, I showed this in the video, it's only a few weeks ago. Car charger is plugged in, it's on the floor, you drive over it with the car and it starts charging. This is an incredible feature because one of the drawbacks of EVs is that they always have to be plugged in everywhere. In this case, obviously the charger still has to be plugged in. It doesn't really solve that problem, but you can see that this is where things are going. And it takes 8 to 9 hours to charge the car. It's a long time compared to a regular charger. However, overnight you can do it without having to worry about plugging in the car. Oh, you forgot? You just park on the inductive charger and it works. This is a really cool quirk. The reason it's not higher is because I think that this is just the beginning. I think this is a quirky thing that in 5 years we're going to look back on and say every car does that, so what? But it's a really cool quirk and a very cool innovation today. Okay, next up, we're getting down to the top. The number 4 quirkiest quirk of the year, the Dodge Charger EV and its Fratzonic exhaust. Absolutely ridiculous. They knew they couldn't make the Charger EV and completely get rid of the gasoline car and everything that it offered. So there is an exhaust in the Dodge Charger EV, but it is fully through a speaker. Now, a few electric cars have speaker-mounted exhaust. That's not the craziest thing. The craziest thing here is that you can rev the speaker. So you can sit in the car, press the throttle, and hear it go. Really one of the most absurd things that I have ever experienced in my entire life driving a car. The Dodge Charger EV and its revvable exhaust speaker. Terrible car, terrible execution, but that is definitely quirky. Whether or not it's bad or good, that's for you to decide. Finally, on to my top 3 quirks of the year. This is really big. Number 3, the Pontiac Mira and all of its copying. It is unbelievable to me that this ever happened. That the Fiero is such a good basis as a kit car for Lambos and Ferraris that someone was doing it when the Fiero was a new car and they were selling it new through Pontiac dealers. And not just that, they were shameless about it. They made the wheels look the same. They made the badge looked the same. Everything. It was laughable. The extent they went to copy the Ferrari 308 to create the Pontiac Mira is one of the all-time great automotive quirks, and it only doesn't win this year for Quirk of the Year because we have 2 slightly better ones. Number 2, the Mercedes Maybach SL680 logo, soft top, and hood. My God. The Maybach SL680 is so over-the-top Maybach that it has Maybach logos all over everything, including the convertible soft top and the hood. It is an embarrassment to whoever is driving the car, obviously. However, it is also pretty aligned with who I suspect will be driving that car. And it is truly unbelievable to me. That video went up months ago, and I still have people coming up to me and saying, I cannot believe the Maybach SL and the Maybach logos all over the hood and the convertible top. Absolutely one of the most insane things that I have ever seen in any car that I have ever reviewed. And I initially had that as my number 1 quirk of the year until a few days ago when I drove the Zinger 21C and its chassis, which is just straight up the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. The Zinger 21C's chassis is done by an AI algorithm that is optimizing for everything, for weight and for capability and all this stuff, and it spits out these parts in tandem with structural engineers feeding in all the parameters that it needs. It spits out these parts that look like human bone structure inside a car. And I'm not a technical guy. I don't really get into the real engineering, but this is straight up one of the coolest things that I've ever seen in my entire life. The Zinger 21C chassis, the way that it looks, all of the bone structure of this car, it really just is one of the all-time most insane things I have ever laid eyes on in my life. And it easily wins for Quirk of the Year. It's so crazy that I actually went home and showed the videos to my wife, the B-roll clips, and I never show her anything about cars. She doesn't care, but even she was like, wow, that looks like bones. And I think it is just one of the coolest things. I think the production process is incredibly cool. The efficiency with which they can make parts and create parts and test parts, but also just the way that it ends up looking. And the fact that Zinger and Divergent, its parent company, have contracts with Bugatti, with McLaren W1, with Aston Martin to develop parts for those cars tells you just how seriously some serious automakers are taking this new technology. And I think it is amazing to see it. So there you go, incredibly long video, but that's it. Those are the Doug Awards, the best, the worst, the quirkiest. That's everything from 25. As always, it has been a masterfully fantastic year. I started doing YouTube in 13, been doing it forever, 13 years now. And it has just been the most wonderful ride, and I sincerely appreciate all of you being along for it. Our podcast has been blowing up. It's so exciting to be part of something like new and hot and exciting again. And I love everyone who comes up to me and says nice things, everyone who writes in emails. There have been just so many wonderful, positive things about this job. I still think it's the coolest job in the world, and it is so cool to be able to go out and review all these cars and see all these quirks. And obviously wouldn't be possible without my amazing viewership, who I sincerely appreciate with every video I release. Thank you for watching, and another great year, and I'll see you next year with some more great videos.